Welcome to Stride by Stride. I'm Martin.
I'm Josh.
Enjoy our podcast today. This is episode 3 of Stride by Stride. Okay, right, so today on Stride by Stride, what are we up to, Josh?
We are actually running to the Bristol running show this morning, and on the way up to the Bristol running show, I thought it would be a really good idea just to talk about you, really, Martin.
Yep.
Because in episode 1, it was very much about myself and my journey, and I thought it'd be really nice this morning if you could tell us about your running journey.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to telling my tale.
Brilliant.
We'll get onto that in a minute, shall we? This will appear as 2 separate podcasts, so the running show will be in a separate episode. So do stay tuned for what's coming on there. But we're doing like a 2-parter here.
Yes.
I thought also we could probably catch up with what's been going on recently.
Yep.
What we had. We've had, since our last episode, we've had the Grizzly, some people doing Grizzly, we'll talk about that.
Yep.
We've had
our club championships at
Chipping Sodbury.
Chipping Sodbury.
Chipping Sodbury Park Run, that was eventful, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah.
And we'll fill you in on that in due course. And we've also talked about up and coming events as well. Okay, so that's what we're up to today, mate.
Yes.
Cool. Right, well, we're going to cross the road now.
The road.
So let's talk a little bit about the route today. So we're running from Downend up to Filton, which is British Aerospace Workers Association Club, which is up the end of Filton Avenue, somewhere around there anyway.
Yeah.
I should know, I've been there a lot of times.
And Southmead Road.
Yeah, Southmead Road. Yes, I knew where it was.
The Borough Centre, is it? Or the Borough something?
And thing is, my grandparents lived there, and of course, my granddad was part of the aerospace industry.
Okay.
So he would have gone there. So I know that area, and I've been going there since I was a child. Yeah, I couldn't name the road. There you go. It's because I've been going there since a child. I don't need to know the name of the road, just know where it is. It's all road.
It is all
All the
road.
way. It's got a slight incline up to Gloucester Road, and then a slight drop down to the Bower Club. And this is all in Bristol, of course.
Yes.
So if you're listening further afield, look it up on the map.
Yes.
We will do a GPX at some point if anyone fancies doing a point to point. So yeah, that's all that. What have you been up to this week, Josh?
That was just our friend in Martin's backpack talking to us.
Yeah, I meant to turn that down. Never mind.
It's okay. I've had a busy week. Sort of not so much running, but more doing other stuff that I'm involved with. So podcast stuff, shall we say?
Yep. Okay. That's what fun.
Yeah. So yeah, lots to talk about. Lots of stuff coming along in the future. But as we said, this morning is about you.
Okay.
So if you could tell us about your running journey, sort of wherever you want to start, up to this kind of route.
Well, I've got quite a long running history, which kind of falls into 3 parts really.
Okay.
So I started running when I was about, 8 years old.
Okay.
And this started with the Dursley district cross country at primary school actually, and my my teacher at the time said, "You're quick, Martin." Yeah, we got cross country coming up at the weekend. Fancy having a go? And I was like, "Well, yeah, all right then." My brother was a runner,
Okay.
and he was 5 years older than me, so he was part of a running club, and I thought, yeah, right, that sounds like a good fun, good challenge to do. And so I did that, and then obviously started building up and doing lots of stuff as a teenager.
Yep.
Until I discovered girls.
Okay.
like teenagers, you know, when you kind of find your passion of whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And for me, it was obviously the hormones took over,
Okay.
and you know, drinking and experimental stuff like that, and then and the rock and roll, got into my music,
Yep.
and kind of lost it for a bit, really.
I think everybody sort of does that, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
I think even at various points during adult life, you can kind of lose that focus and kind of really start to focus on other things, you know, whatever that might be,
Yeah.
whether it's family life or career or what have you. So that kind of happened, and then I suppose in my late 20s, I kind of started thinking, oh, I'm a bit slovenly. I need to get a bit more active.
Yeah.
But I had a very busy working life. My nursing career was really taking off at that stage.
Okay.
I had become, you know, sort of ward manager, and I was sort of busy with that, and you know, so when I wasn't working, I was sleeping or resting or whatever. And but I saw that there was a charity 10k, I think it was for sport relief or something like that,
Okay.
and I thought, okay, right, here we are, I'm going to do something that kind of really motivates me, with an external motivator, you know, like charity, raising money, all that sort of stuff. It seemed like it was going to be the best thing that was going to get me out the door.
Yeah.
And let's face it, you know, often the hardest step is the first one, the one that you take out the door.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, obviously found a way to get out based on that, and my training for that was awful. Absolutely awful. It's probably the least committed I've been, because I was starting from zero.
Yeah.
I hadn't formed any habits or routines. I think I probably did about, I don't know, a dozen training sessions
Okay.
in preparation for that, maybe even less. Furthest distance was probably about, I don't know, 5k.
Okay.
So I got up to half distance.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That's fine.
And I sort of turned up on the day, and I suppose I was quite motivated because I'd raised all this money, and
Yeah.
I kind of put quite a lot of purpose on that. I suppose a healthy amount of pressure. And then, yeah, so did that, and then that's a really isolated period of running.
Okay.
That kind of started and finished where I said.
Okay.
And then,
Was that sort of part two of your story now?
yeah, and actually I think, again, I got distracted, you know. I found something else to focus on, which was, again, career orientated.
Okay.
And yeah, I suppose I lost focus, and it wasn't long after that I moved back to Bristol, because I was living in Colchester in Essex at the time,
Okay.
and not long after that, and I did a few runs when I came back to Bristol actually, initially, but then it fell by the wayside very quickly. Just, you know, doing stuff, you know,
Yeah.
life stuff,
Life.
really. And then episode 3
Yeah.
started when, funnily enough, my sister and my mum had both got into running.
Okay.
Around about 2000, they started running about 2017, joined clubs,
Yeah.
and they were telling me about, they were planting seeds, and I was like, well, that sounds fun, maybe I should do that, maybe that would be good for me. Yeah, I mean, I just thought, New Year's Day, 2018,
Yeah.
laced up the trainers, and
Let's go.
I was like, right, let's go. And I managed a mile.
Okay.
But that was great. But I was so committed at that time. I was like, right, okay, what are we doing? Okay, right, we're gonna run a park run by the end of January, which I did.
Okay.
And I was like, right, okay, I need something else to focus on now. So I kept setting myself little goals
Yeah.
to do, and I think that really helped me.
So would you say that's when you sort of started to fall in love with running, would we say?
It took a while. Certainly, I think because I had a training plan, and that training block was kind of rife with viruses.
Yeah.
I had quite a lot of viruses during that, and I was building up towards. I set my sight on Bristol Half. Bristol Half Marathon at that time was still in September.
Yeah.
So I had a long run in. Pardon the pun.
Yeah. Like it.
But I felt like there was enough to kind of give me something to drive me forward,
Okay.
but also the space to be able to worry about, illness. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's not going to knock me back too much. And then we had just about 2 or 3 weeks before the event,
Yeah.
I didn't do any 10Ks, or I didn't build up. I just kind of said, right, okay, I'm going to do a half marathon, which will become more evident when I talk about other fun parts of my journey. But I was like, yeah, half marathon, yeah, I could do that. And then about 2 weeks before, I had some sort of weird nerve pain at the back of my back.
Oh no.
So on the kind of left flank, really. When I was sitting down at work to do something, suddenly twang, I was like, oh, absolutely agony. And I was like, no, this can't happen. I got a half marathon in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So a bit of rapid physio from a mate,
Okay.
and lots of painkillers, lots of moving position to get me to the race line.
Okay. And so you completed it?
Yep.
And
So on the day, I realised probably that I'd underestimated how fast I was going to go.
yeah.
I set myself the goal of 2 hours
Okay.
on my first one, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to finish quicker than that. Even following, that kind of minor setback, I thought, okay, well, I'm definitely capable of going faster than that. So I changed the wave on the morning,
Okay.
which they allowed me to do. I don't know whether they still do that, but
I don't
often they can be a bit funny about that,
know.
can't
Yeah,
they?
they can, yeah.
So changed the wave on the morning, and I just kind of went out with a view of like, just enjoy it, smile lots,
Yeah.
And I read an article a couple of days ago, said a couple of days before it, saying just smile because it releases endorphins.
Yeah, it does.
And I was like, all right, okay, let's give that a go. So I did, and I just kind of then set myself lots of, tiny goals as I was going along.
Yeah.
I'd be running along, right, okay, you're feeling good. Why don't you catch that group up there? So I'd catch up a group. And I'd be in this pack for a little while. And then I'm like, I'm quicker than this.
Yeah.
So then what I'd do is I would just slingshot and kind of go past them. And I kept doing that all the way around. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Brilliant.
And actually, I think probably at that stage, the bug was really fully embedded in me.
Okay.
I finished in 1:40, 1 minute, 1 hour 40 and 15 seconds.
Wow.
And I think that 15 seconds really bothered me.
Down those 15 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the 1 hour and 40,
Yeah.
I can kind of accept that. It was the fact that I was only 15 seconds from being under 100 minutes. I think that's what really bothered me, really.
Okay. So that's really interesting. And you also said there that what I also know is you're a bit of a rocker, aren't you?
Yep.
You're really into your music.
Yeah.
Do you ever sort of run along to your favourite music?
It's funny, isn't it? Because people have got their own way of kind of doing their runs, haven't they? Like, they either live in the moment and actually experience the whole run,
Yeah.
or they want to distract themselves.
Good or bad?
Yeah. And actually, that's your thing. And who am I to ever say whether one's right or wrong? It's not. It's whatever you do.
Yeah.
So on occasion,
Just,
when I'm feeling like I just need to do a little bit of, okay, I need to space out,
yeah.
or I need a bit of rhythm to kind of pace me.
Yeah.
So I've been going too quick recently or something like that. Although having said that, rock music doesn't really help with that because it's quite quick.
Yeah. You are seriously quick.
But when I'm trying to pace it down,
Yes.
like
I
we
can
have
see.
to, as you know,
Yes.
as everyone knows.
My pace is quite slow.
But everyone's changes gears, don't
Yeah,
they?
they can do. Yeah.
I'm definitely somebody who kind of really likes to experience the run, and I actually practice something called, when I'm on my own, I practice something called mindful running.
Okay. I'm interested.
So for those that do know, it's or don't know, mindfulness is all about kind of being present in the moment.
Yep.
And it's
Looking after the body and stuff
well,
like that?
yes,
Or-
it does include that, but it's about kind of really thinking about, okay, well, I'm here now. I don't know what's going to happen ahead of me.
Okay.
I know what's happened behind me, and I've learned from that.
Yeah.
So what you do is you really use those experiences of everything that you've encountered in your life. Yes, Trevor. But you actually completely and utterly remain in the moment.
Okay.
So that might be, there's methods you can do this, which is that you focus on your stride pattern. So you might notice kind of a little bit of a tune or something
Yeah.
like that with your footsteps. And you might do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's kind of the pace that we're running at the moment.
Okay.
Or and then what you might do is you might focus on your breathing. How am I breathing right now? Or what you might do is you might do a check-in on your body. Okay, toes, ankles,
Yeah, I know what
knees.
you mean there, because when I started on the Couch to 5K,
Uh-huh.
they would say that to you to sort of,
Do a body check-in.
do
Yeah.
a body check, start at your feet, how you're feeling. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah. I mean, and actually, for me, if I was listening to music, I'd be distracted from that. And of course, I don't listen to music when I'm with somebody because you're chatting.
Yeah.
But when I'm on my own, I very much like to kind of remain in the present.
Okay. I'm just gonna ask you now a question that I asked Joe in episode 2. I'm a big fan of yours, and I sort of look up to you, mainly because I am quite short. But to be more serious, you're sort of up there with the faster runners in club,
Yeah.
and I know you've done an awful lot of races.
Morning.
And how do you keep yourself sort of grounded?
That's a great question, mate. So I don't know. I think in general, as humans, we're quite humble.
Yeah.
I rarely meet somebody who's a massive egotist or something like that, particularly in running circles. I think many people get into running as a way and means of managing self-esteem,
Yeah.
building confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
So they're coming from a place perhaps maybe where self-esteem might not always be firing on all cylinders, or their confidence might sort of vary.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I think I am quite humble, and I think it's, like I said in episode 2, I think it's all right to celebrate your achievements.
Yeah.
And I think it's taken me a while to get to that stage,
Yeah, I agree with you.
to think, okay, yeah, I'm doing all right here.
Yeah.
You know, and actually when I realised that, you know, as an adult rather than a child, in this episode 3 of running,
Yeah.
that I was actually quite handy. I was like, right, first thing I've got to do is really become comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I've got to really think about, okay, well, you know, how does that sit?
Yeah.
And, you know, really reflect on that. So reflection's quite important for me. It's
Yeah.
about, first of all, recognising where you did well.
Yeah.
Let's really celebrate the wins. And even when that came to DNFs, and I've had them,
Yes.
when it comes to like do not finish and all that sort of stuff, there are take-home messages that are positive.
Yeah.
There's rarely anything that goes 100% rubbish.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so for me, I think when I reflect and I look at the positives, and then I think, okay, right, what can I do differently next time?
Yes.
I'm not where did I muck up, because actually that's a stick to beat myself with, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But what can I learn from this that means the next time I'm gonna improve my performance, or I finish that race, or whatever it might be. So reflection's important, and also grounded. I realise that, you know, we're all at different stages in our running, in our lives, whatever it might be, and whatever stage of our running journey or in our life's journey that we are, it is absolutely valid.
Okay.
So, you know, when I am running with someone who may not run at the same pace as I race,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter.
No.
Because actually I'm still running,
Yeah.
and they're still running, and they're doing what I do. You know, so say if we're in a race
Yeah.
and I'm running with you and you're running and I'm basically pacing you,
Yep. Which we have done.
you're doing your race, and that is the joy
Yeah.
that I get from that,
That's brilliant.
which is, yeah, you know, you're still racing, so then I'm vicariously racing. You know, I'm basically racing through you, and I
Yeah.
love that.
Oh, that's brilliant. I just have 2 more questions for you. I obviously know we've been friends for 2 or 3 years, and you've done a lot of races, but is there one particular race that you've done where maybe things didn't go to plan, and what did you learn about yourself? Quite a difficult question.
Well, it is, because there's so many to choose from.
There is.
Because I could probably count on one hand the races that have gone absolutely to plan. So I've probably done in excess of 100 races,
Okay.
and I would say that so 5 have probably gone to plan. So 5% of my races go to plan. Crazy. But
He is an amazing runner. Very modest.
yeah. But you know, that's 5% to plan. So
Yeah.
this is what, you know, this is the difference between expectation, reality.
Yes.
You know, so and that's all right. You know, it's okay to have expectations of yourself, but it's also okay to realise, actually, do you know what? It rarely goes to plan, but how close did you get to that plan?
Yeah.
Now, on many an occasion, very close.
Okay.
Very close. Like within like millimetres of perfection.
Okay.
I couldn't have asked for more type stuff. And that's probably because sometimes I build myself up to achieve just a little bit, aiming higher
Yeah.
than, and I get, recently, so this week we had the Barclay Marathons on, didn't we? And,
We did.
And of course they've just released a film called The Edge of Possibility,
Well,
or The Edge of Possible, I think it's called.
Okay.
Which is available on YouTube for streaming. And that's of course about the 2024 edition of Barclay, where they had 5 finishers.
That was amazing.
Which was
and no finishes this year.
yeah, well, yeah, and maybe we'll talk about that in a minute.
Spoiler.
But yeah, I think what that says to me is that we should aim for things that are on the edge of possible.
Yeah.
Here's what I think is probably just be around my reach or just beyond my reach, and I'm going to aim for that point. And actually, so that's why sometimes it doesn't go to plan.
I think you're completely
And
right
I'm
there,
cool about that.
because if you don't strive for those sort of impossibles that you think may be impossible,
Yeah.
and you achieve that, it just shows you what the body can actually do.
Oh, without a doubt. And actually, I'm really up on that. I love that, kind of pushing my capabilities,
Yep.
thinking about what I can do. I'm aware that I haven't actually answered your question.
It's okay.
I'm being
like the way
a politician around this, aren't I?
I like the way we can sort of skirt around it.
Yeah. No, but I just thought it's a really interesting discussion to have around that concept of like, actually, do you know what? If it goes to plan every single time, well, I'm really pleased for you. But actually, I like the fact that I've got it wrong. And I've never got it wildly wrong. Actually, once I got it wildly wrong. Let's talk about that, shall we?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
In what would have been, I think 2022, I did the Butcombe Trail Ultra 56 miler.
Okay.
Doesn't exist as a 56 miler anymore. So it's a
Change it to
50 mile.
50, yeah?
Yeah, so they used to have a 56 and a 50. Now they just have a 50 and 50k, just to make it a bit more inclusive.
Okay.
A lot of elevation, very technical in the Mendips. And
Good luck, everybody.
I kind of felt great. I had a great training block, amazing training block. Couldn't have asked for more. And I turned up on the day, felt fresh,
Yeah.
well nourished, well hydrated. Went out at a comfortable pace, and what I did is I forgot to remain in the moment. So what I started doing is I started seeing myself at the finish line.
Okay.
And the reason I did that was because I was in a very healthy position. I was second or third at the time.
Wow.
And I was like, right, okay, what have we got to do to maintain this position? Now that I learned, don't ever do that. What you do is, if you are in one of those kind of fighting for a podium place type stuff,
Yeah.
you kind of have to think, okay, where are we at right now? Just keep staying there, because as soon as we start thinking about the finish line,
Yeah.
we're forgetting about the business in hand. The finish line, you're not running anymore.
No.
So what's the point of thinking about that? And if I'm imagining myself with a trophy in my hand
Yes.
when I'm still running, well, I've failed.
Okay.
And
That's
actually,
interesting.
I mean, it's okay to dream.
Yeah. But
Certainly.
maybe in the last 10 metres.
Well, I think probably in the last half mile of an ultra marathon, you could probably afford yourself.
Yeah.
Although I've been caught out by that as well.
Okay.
But I think, so it's okay to dream, but I think, staying in the here and now allows us to really focus and what we actually need to do
Yeah.
to be able to deal with the terrain, deal with the endurance,
Yeah.
you know, keep everything working appropriately. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So that was my main learning. Don't
Okay.
choose your times to really think about the finish line. Not not when you're 3 miles in
Okay.
on a 56-mile race.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I DNF'd that very race. So, but that was one of, and it hurt. It was my first DNF.
Okay.
But that first DNF inspired me then to go on and double up on the distance. And right, okay, I failed at 56. I'm now going to go and run the Cotswold Way, which is double that distance.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of like, it's a bit like my half marathon distance. Yeah, I'm not going to do a 10k. I can just go straight into a half marathon. It's identical, really.
That's brilliant.
So yeah.
I mean, I literally, we're about probably a mile from the running show at the moment. I really could talk to you all day about this. I have sort of prepped and thought about questions to ask you, but the last question I'm going to ask you is that obviously you do a lot of running. It seems that you're quite into being sort of mindfulness, looking after yourself and doing all the right things, probably some strength training. But I also know that you have a young family.
Yeah.
And how difficult is it to keep all those plates spinning?
Yeah, I mean, just certainly in the last 2 years, it's been nigh on impossible. I've got an autistic ADHD 9-year-old who's also got something called PDA, which is pathological demand avoidance.
Okay.
Which basically is a stress fight or flight response.
Okay.
Essentially anything that appears to be threatening ends up in shutdown, and that has essentially led to him not attending school.
Okay.
He just can't attend school now, and so obviously there's had to be quite a lot of adjustment within our household.
Yeah.
To try and kind of really manage that and be supportive and be there for him, and partly because he's obviously not at school, and so that produces some care responsibilities.
Yeah.
And
how does that affect you as a runner then?
I think the mental load is the hardest, mate. I think in terms of time, I really still value the fact that I need to decompress.
Yeah.
And get away from that, and my wife and I, we balance that really well.
That's brilliant.
In terms of making sure that we kind of get away, to individually decompress, less so together.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just the way life works. We have to be creative around those sort of things, but yeah, so the mental load's probably the hardest, because there's quite a lot of things, practical things to do, as well as just doing the stuff that you were doing first. And of course, when I stepped into this thing of being a dad,
Yeah.
what you start off from a place of, okay, well, I'm going to be a parent, yeah?
Yeah.
And then before long, you get to this point, and then suddenly I'm a parent and a carer. And, regardless of all my healthcare experience,
Yeah.
and of course I was a paediatric nurse, so I looked after children in my clinical career. It's different, because it's immersive. It's there all the time. There is no escape. It's all the time, and it's challenging.
I can imagine it must be. Do you know what? I say I can imagine. I can't imagine.
No, it's very difficult to imagine. I mean, the reason I'm sharing it is because I have running has revealed a new found purpose for me, which was, yes, it was there for physical performance, and I was enjoying really kind of competing and all that sort of stuff. But now it's also about creating space and allowing me to work through some things that happen from day to day, and it is day to day. You're literally living on a wing of a prayer with this. So it's so I know that there will be runners who will be in a similar position to where I'm at. I know there are. I've spoken to them, and I think that we have a shared kinship around like kind of that finding space, finding time, working through things. And it makes it does make a difference.
Well, Martin, I really don't know what to say. I was sort of not expecting that.
I wasn't expecting. I didn't know I was going to talk about it, but I'm pleased to have.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I last out just one last thing before we actually get there. Is obviously doing the podcast. Is that helping?
I think
or is
so.
it just another added pressure?
No, I mean I think it does help, because I think what I'm doing is I'm immersing myself in different people's lives, and actually I think one of the biggest things that when you do have a disabled child, disabled by society, by the way, I'm just going to add that in.
Yes.
Is that you really learn about gratitude, and actually running taught me about gratitude to begin with. Like, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for the trail, I'm grateful for the air in my lungs, I'm grateful for the people I run with, all that sort of stuff. And then I've just found a new level. It's like, actually I was set up by running to be able to cope with what's going on at home. And then it's actually, I'm now my gratitude's kind of almost reached another level.
Wow.
So yeah.
This is great stuff. I really appreciate you talking about this difficult bit of your life. I also know that your wife Lucy is running. And she told me yesterday that she's training for a 10k.
She is. Old car, mate.
Oh God.
We almost got run over there letting us across. We're not used to that. We always record on the trail, mate.
She told me she was training for a 10k. I mean, does she listen to our podcast?
I think so.
Okay.
She's aware of its existence. So yeah, she's a big podcast listener. So I know she's doing Brabazon 10k.
Yeah, she told me. I told her it was a great medal and a great t-shirt. She would like a medal rack on completion.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Just tipping you off.
All right, oh, thank you, mate. Yeah.
For husband of the year.
Yeah, thank you for that insight. So she's doing that, and so she hit a big birthday this year, so she's doing 5 10Ks, which kind of gives it away. So she's doing 5 10Ks to celebrate. So she's already done her first one, and then Brabazon will be second.
Wow. So
Brabazon 10K is in the Patchway and Filton area of Bristol. Brabazon was a huge aircraft.
It was.
It
was a great race.
Yeah.
I did the half last year. Good medal.
Yep.
Good atmosphere. So yeah.
Right. Well, we've actually reached our destination, mate.
We have.
It was good talking to you, but we got more stuff to talk about, haven't we?
We do. We've got lots of stuff. We sort of get carried away, as we do.
So, club this week. So on Monday, I think they were doing
tempo run.
They were doing tempo, yeah.
Which is great to see.
Yeah. So tempo. I don't know. Were they doing sort of like a sort of time in one direction, return faster, that sort of thing? Or
yeah, I'm not sure. Shall we say yes, they were?
Yeah, because that's what you did on Thursday.
Because that's what I did on Thursday.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about that.
So on Thursday, I'm stepping up and trying to do some more different things under the guidance of Neil, the chairman.
Yeah.
Tempo is the first time I've done it, sort of led. I've actually run it quite a few times. I did have a bit of a confidence crash a couple of days beforehand, but Martin helped me reorganise what I was going to say in my head. But actually on the night, I didn't say any of that. I just kept it really simple. And anyway, the session was a success.
Good.
Unfortunately, one of the runners, she did fall over, but I hear she's absolutely fine.
Oh, that's good. Of course, that does happen at times, and that's why we have safety briefings and all that sort of stuff, isn't it? So.
And then on Tuesday, Loopy Tuesday at club, it was Kingswood Hills.
Oh, Kingswood, yes, of course.
So it is quite a challenging course because obviously it's hills.
Yeah.
And you have to run up them if you can. So that was really good. So all 3 groups did that, and as far as I'm aware, everybody had a good time.
That's
so
good.
yeah, that's club this week.
Nice, and just shows you the variety. You know, thinking about the loops, thinking about the flat out and backs, and thinking about going up and round the hills as well.
Yeah.
So you know, at club we're really thinking about all of that, all the muscle groups.
Yes.
And also, you know, thinking about your fast twitch and your slow twitch fibres, and your alactic and your anaerobic system.
We basically do all the stuff you don't want to do on your own in a group.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I don't mind doing tempo, but I'd never do it in one direction and then go back the other. I would always kind of work it in. So I do like things like
I've seen that on your Strava.
Like kilometre. I do like 5 times kilometre efforts, and then I'll do like a minute break in between or something like that.
Done a little Billy here.
Yeah.
Inside joke. Our good friend Billy yesterday did Fallout.
Yeah, let's talk about Fallout. Fallout was, well, we had 2 people from our club.
We
so
did.
Well done, Billy.
Well done, Billy. Great effort.
And actually, you know, 44 miles, but did get vaporised. So let's talk about that a moment. So
Yes.
My understanding is that there is a hypothetical nuclear explosion or something like that.
Yes.
That goes off in Oxford.
That's right.
And you have to run as far as the crow flies to a point where you are outside the vaporization zone.
This is correct. I think it sits at around about
50 miles.
50 miles.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
So I think this was the 2nd year Billy had done it.
Yes, yeah.
He did very well, and towards sort of the end of his run last night, we were sort of messaging him on our WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
He had a few problems, went a few wrong ways.
Just giving him some moral support.
Yes, but I think he finished at
43, 40, oh yeah, it would have been 46. I think in terms of the crow flies, it was probably slightly less than that.
Yeah,
but
maybe one of his wings had been clipped a little bit. But all that aside, Billy, you did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And then also our chairman, Neil, he also did it this year. And when I spoke to him on Thursday night, he told me that he was aiming for Chippenham.
And he got to Chippenham.
He got to Chippenham.
Yeah, he got to the green line.
Yep, he made it. He's still alive.
Yeah, a very kind of frustrating for a Strava viewer. 48.94 miles, I think it was, or something like that.
Yep.
For which I do need to mention, because I'm there thinking, why not the extra 1.04 miles?
Yeah.
It was just irking, I suppose, my obsessiveness.
It's something we can bring up with him, isn't it?
Well, I think we are. We are right now.
Oh yeah, we are.
Very publicly.
Sorry, Neil. We still love you.
But well done to those guys. And we had Grizzly a couple of weeks ago. So again, Neil ran that with Joe, who was on our podcast last episode,
and
Andy Bush. So Joe and Andy both finished in very respectable, very good times. Unfortunately, Neil had a bit of a knee injury, so got about 10k in, and then had a very long walk back to base, which I don't envy him for that.
No, but good
it was
for him to listen to his body.
Yeah, it was the right decision. So the Grizzly is, an arduous multi-terrain race that concludes with a pebbly run along the beach towards Seaton. Which is so basically it's very single file.
Okay.
When you get to that stage, because someone's carved out a route and you want to follow it.
Yeah. On sort of tired legs. Must be quite brutal.
So that was the Grizzly, and then we had Chipping Sodbury Park Run, didn't we?
Yes, so that was number 4?
Number 3. So it was 3 as a two-parter. The first part of it was on the 1st of March, and then the second on the 15th, and we had 10 PBs across the club.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think about 30 people took part in total, and we had 10 PBs. So a third of the participants got PBs.
That is amazing.
It is. I mean, it is a fast course.
It is.
And of course, our club championship this year, actually you get bonus points for getting a personal best or a 5-year best.
Wow.
So there are 10 people that get a bonus there, including Simon Wood, who has now got 2 bonuses because he's got a 10k and a 5k PB. And he's aiming for a third at the Gloucester Half on the 30th. So if he gets that, he's so far bagged 15 bonus points.
I think he will. He's rocking a brand new pair of trainers at the moment.
Has he gone carbon plated?
He's gone carbon plated.
Right. Okay.
He's gone pink.
Okay.
With a well-known persons who have joined together, came out this week.
Okay. All right. We'll leave that there. Yeah, it's code, mate.
Code.
But yes, I think it's interesting that actually he has set he knows what he needs to do this year.
Yeah, he does.
So actually, and this is what this club championship was all about. It was all about kind of thinking, how do we reward effort, sustained consistency,
Yes.
Approaches towards races. Because actually sometimes it's hard to keep yourself going throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
And so at that peak level, in fact, it's physically hard, it's mentally hard as well, isn't it? So.
But you really changed it this year, haven't you? Because there is a sort of a nice almost 50-50 split of trail and road.
Yeah, absolutely. I really wanted to kind of reward those individuals who do prefer to go out on the trail, but also realise that, okay, well, we and give people the opportunity to go out on the trail. And of course the flip of that is really thinking about, okay, well, how do we kind of ensure that those people who are running on the road get their kind of goals met as well. And give the people opportunity that might think, okay, well, actually, do you know what, I'm not going to do trail. I don't mind doing a couple of the smaller trail races. But sort of longer multi-terrain, maybe less so. So yeah, I think with that in mind, I think it's done what it's done what we've aimed for. So far.
And it'd be interesting to see how the rest of the year sort of pans out.
I think so. I mean, because there are other opportunities. This obviously we've got the half marathon. We've also got a marathon challenge running between March and May. There's opportunity for people to try and knock out a marathon PB. If they do that, they get an extra 5 points, obviously. Essentially, if you're doing a Simon, you might even bag a whole bunch of PBs in one season, and good, that's what it's about, and certainly what we're doing, what we're kind of really promoting amongst the team is, and the club, is about how you can build your program. He started off with a 10k PB, and then he did a 5k PB, and he's got a bit of that fast endurance, got a bit of that long speed endurance, and then build it up from there. So he's actually had really good prep for his half marathon.
It's really, for me, it's really interesting to see how people in the club are actually sort of progressing through the months.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's nice to see that, isn't it?
It is. I'm not doing so many races, or I'm not doing PBs, but it's nice to celebrate with people from club.
Totally, yeah.
Sort of be part of their story.
Yeah, I mean, it's a community, isn't it? So,
it is.
We come together as a community around running. So actually being in a position where we can look at our colleagues and think, oh, they knocked it out of the park there, and actually it's inspiring as well, because to see, like I say, you might not be running at the same pace, but their pace is still their top pace. And
that's kind of what we wanted to publicised, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like doing the podcast.
Totally.
You know, we are in association with our running club, Emerson's Green Running Club, so we are going to promote the boys and girls at the club, good or bad.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
And that's something that we really like to do, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, yeah. And I think that's something that we should always hold dear to us. Dude, we're here. And we've just been walking around the building for about half an hour, it seems like. Yeah, so on our next episode that you will hear, we will be live from the Bristol Running Show. Well, it won't be live because we're going to post it afterwards, but we'll be recording at the Bristol Running Show.
What we mean.
Yeah, absolutely. We will. So we'll be talking all about that and featuring different elements of individuals at the Bristol Running Show, and we might even be interviewing somebody in one of the talks as well. So.
Yes.
But Josh, thank you for letting me talk about my stuff today.
No, it's. I tell you, we could have spent hours talking about you, but it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you everybody for listening, and look forward to episode 4.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been Martin.
I've been Josh.
And we've been Stride by Stride.
Absolutely.